Thanks for staying tuned. Well, let's dive into the heart of today's focus. At the center of the storm is Nigeria's largest refinery, Dangote's multi-billion dollar project, hailed as a symbol of self-sufficiency. Yet, with over 800 workers now alleged to have been dismissed and a union strike spiraling into a nationwide disruption, the refinery has become ground zero for labor unrest. Now, this is no longer just about management and workers. It's now about energy security, the rule of law, and the livelihoods of ordinary Nigerians. It is difficult to ascertain who is right or who is wrong in all of these, as all parties seem to be hammering on taking the actions they have taken in the interests of the country and its citizens. So, who is the villain? Is a big question now. And yes, every small problem here, a breakdown in effective communication is a part of what has been observed. How effectively are the parties in this rift communicating? We can't say assertively, but the experts can. To unpack this, we're first joined by an industry expert, Dr. Wisdom Enang, joins us virtually. Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Robert. It's a pleasure.
Welcome, Dr. Wisdom Enang to Niger Delta Today.
Thank you very much for having me.
We understand the brewing issue between PENGASSAN and Dangote Refinery. The federal government has tried to step in, but yet the meeting yesterday ended in deadlock. Well, let's try to understand from your point of view, what do you think could be the major issue between PENGASSAN and Dangote Refinery?
So first and foremost, the issue is just both sides have their thoughts about, what exactly they interpret the legalities around, the whole labor industrial relations to look like and how they would like it to apply. And the reason I started from that foot is because that in itself tells us that we have a lot of lacunas in our policy framework. And so both parties have gone ahead to interpret, the provisions the way that the felt apply. Now, the Dangote simply wants a seamless business operation. Let's look at it from a non-cynical standpoint. It does want to be able to do business and not have to worry about, someone saying, let's go for strike because we're under the PENGASSAN. And I do understand from, a very honest standpoint, why anyone would do that. And then he has gone ahead to set up a parallel union or of some sort. Not a kind of a pressure union, but more of a welfare union, yes. To make sure that, drivers have a central point where they can talk about different things of their concern. And this all started with the 4,000 trucks that he has bought in. And so he started out, and the fingers are saying, no, what you're doing now works for the sugar and the cement industry, where there's no central union that is really accepted by the government, recommended by the government for dialogues, but not in the, in the petroleum industry. And so why I started from the legal framework is I have to read you a couple of, provisions just to let you understand where this is coming from. Now, if you look at the Section 40 of the Nigerian Constitution, it reinforces the right to form and join trade unions. Now, take that alone. You find out that on one part, the trade unions already exist in the country and recognized by government is the PENGASSAN and the defense. And it's already formed, so you can't stop people from joining. And that's the argument of the trade unions. But the Dangote is also leveraging on the same thing to say, you can also stop me from forming another trade union that my people belong, provided they are comfortable with it. So you can see where the law is playing a lacuna. The second one, the Labour Act, Section 9, subsection 6, talks about how no worker can be forced to stay out of or quit a union. But there are no exact consequences as to, and clear-cut consequences on how that applies if it comes to that. That's what the regulation should do, for that clarity, so that the two parties do not take laws into their hands trying to exert their own authorities powers in order to make their points known. And then the International Convention 87 and 98 talked about the freedom to join any association and banning of anti-union associations. But in all of these, right, before I just punctuate on this point, people are arguing that, and one of the arguments of the Dangote refinery is that I'm in the free trade zone. This law shouldn't really apply to me. And again, this is exactly the job of the regulators. They are meant to clarify how this law applies when you're inland into the inland into Nigeria, and when you're in the free trade zone where some of those laws should be relaxed. So, but this is just about disagreement about the way both parties understand the laws that govern the labor and industrial relations.
Okay, but understanding the antecedent with Dangote refinery, I think in 2011, the pasta segment of Dangote had joined the union, and following that incident, the members had joined that union were sacked. And now we're getting to hear of the PENGASSAN workers being sacked with this issue of unionism. Is there something Dangote refinery is trying to hide? Are they avoiding some form of accountability to the people?
Well, the thing is this, I won't personalize it to the Dangote refinery. Let's just be very honest, because I've been in the entire union space, well, not as a union member, but preview to what we do, as a matter of fact. And I know that they do go after people that are flaunting the regulations or the laws, or they deem that they're not treating people fairly. Particularly, when it appears that there is a dichotomy in the welfare of different, personnel, depending, for example, you find out that an Indian would be working there, perhaps not adding enough value and getting $5,000, and a Nigerian any less than 400K for exactly the same work. And so this disparity is what has invited the union to really look at certain actions that are being taken. However, what is very different about this particular dispute is like, we talk about other sectors. They don't have a strong union there. The central sector of oil and gas has a very strong union that one, cannot easily boycott. But are there skeletons in the cupboards of the Dangote refinery? It may well be that the whole thing is about the convenience of not having to deal with union problems. Because the world apart, there have been a long fight against unionism, even in the US, not just Dangote. That's what I'm trying to say. Every capitalist doesn't want to have the disruptions that come with union to their business, especially if they can avoid it. Well, is this going to be something? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, Doctor, I was just going to get you to draw a line where you see some sort of reconciliation or a way forward for these two big wigs that are fighting right now. We talk about PENGASSAN, they're already embarking on the strike, and of course, Dangote refinery is certainly not backing down. They are also standing their ground regarding their union, and what they say is indeed geared towards ensuring that they are able to provide more jobs for Nigerians and all of that. And PENGASSAN, on the other hand, also saying that whatever they are doing, it is about protecting the interests of Nigerians and their members. Do you think that there is some selfish interest here? Where are those ones? How can we identify those persons that we might consider are selfish in whatever is playing out right now? Or are they truly interested in the interests of Nigerians?
Well, first and foremost, I like to say that those guys may have had good intent looking at both sides. Of course, you're looking at, an objective function that is actually very much, they don't have the same objective. One party has one objective, and another party has another extreme objective, and they're both defending their objectives, if you ask me. But the method and manner within which they are defending their objectives is what I totally don't agree. For example, on the union part, asking for a shutdown of power plants, not sending gas to some of these sectors, and even asking for a shutdown of Nigeria's production As an oil and gas engineer, I can tell you without a doubt that when you shut down production, you may not get the production to start up in the manner that you want after a shutdown. Sometimes the world does not even want to start up again. So there are risks associated with this. Now, on the Dangote side of things, several pronouncements have been made that could undermine the Nigerian economy. Laying off of all of those people, the timing was totally out of place. It could just create an eruption of an already existing problem that is currently boiling. And also the pronouncement that most selling fuel in naira, we're also going to be pricing it in dollars. It could send our foreign exchange market going haywire. So for those two reasons, I would say that they have passed the line where they stop being patriotic and start being counterproductive to the pursuit of the common man. But what is the way forward? And I think that's perhaps what you're interested in learning. I think, first, everything starts with the regulator. Put down the interpretation of the regulator as it affects labor unions and the industrial players, vis-a-vis the fact that that industrial sector is in the free trade zone. Put down, call those guys to order, give them your interpretation, and let them now align not on the basis of, okay, I am doing this because I am accepting what PENGASSAN has said, or not that because PENGASSAN is accepting what Dangote has said, but because the law has spoken, the regulators have given an interpretation, and that is what is going to go right forward. And I think that's the best way. The truth of the matter is, I would like to comment. Every so now and then, we hear about disputes, and there are court orders here and there restraining people. And you've seen it that even the PENGASSANs are not backing down based on the court order. So it just shows you that going to get a court order overnight isn't going to be the solution. The solution is the right interpretation, with the regulators mediating the entire process.
Well, Dr. Enang, as at yesterday before the strike, price of petrol was sold at 890 naira. As at this morning, prices have gone up to 910 naira. And I just want to ask you, should unionism always have to bring the common man, the Nigerians, to a point where they are also being dragged into the problems of a fight?
Okay, thank you very much. Very good question. But the problem you've cited, so the answer is no. That's the answer you need. And no, because when you start infringing on the wealth of the common person, for which that is the basis upon which a government was created to protect, then you have broken the law, and unionism should not break the law. That's the answer. But let's go back to the example you cited. You've talked about fuel hike. And I'm going to ask a rhetorical question, of course, not putting back the question to you, but the rhetorical question is going to be, the price hike, could that have been caused also by the Dangote's pronouncement that is selling things in dollars now? And so the fueling stations have actually said, okay, look, if we don't know, with the differential in the price of dollars to naira over a period of time, this might be the extra cost per liter. So let's even increase it using this opportunity so that when we go to buy in dollars, we'll not be losing money on our previous stock. So there could have been other options. So what I'm trying to say is that no to the answer you've asked, the question you've asked, but to the fact that either of those factors, both the strike action and the Dangote's pronouncement, could have led to a price hike, is very unclear. But it could have been either of them, or it could have been both of them combined. Both are equally culpable.
Well, Doctor, a court of competent jurisdiction had, asked PENGASSAN to hold up on the strike, but it seemed to have ignored that directive and went ahead with the strike. Do you think there's a precedent here? I mean, it might seem as though we're now existing conveniently in a country where it doesn't matter what the courts say. People still go ahead to do what they like.
So first and foremost, unfortunately, that is the precedent that have been set, much to my disapproval. However, we need to understand that we also need to do reforms that also would boost the integrity of the courts. Because The truth is, you say competent jurisdiction, but if there was the due process, which meant hearing from both sides or balancing the considerations, or perhaps asking maybe, okay, look, you guys have the right to strike, but do not disrupt economic activity. You can protest about what you did, and let it be heard. When there are no consideration around the fact that there are legalities to protest and strike actions from these union folks. It's allowed for by those industrial actions. They're allowed for. When there is an arbitrary stoppage, what the union is going to say is, look, what you've said doesn't define anything, doesn't take into consideration that we have rights for all of it. Like saying a court that we cannot protest. And so you're going to ask, is the court stronger than the Constitution itself that allows for protest? But if the court haven't heard or kind of balance the hearing, now says, okay, do not go beyond this line in executing your protest. That's when you cross the line, then that's fine. So when you see them rejected, that means they have a superior point to argue even when they are confronted in the court for flaunting the orders of the court. So it all boils down to the lacuna. On one end, everybody has on their own divide, they have the arguments that they are ready to keep out when given opportunity, and that is because of the gray areas within the Nigerian Constitution. And you always hear, thankfully, that the Senate is looking at, just brushing up this 1999 Constitution, because there are lacunas there that cross tensions depending on how they are being interpreted by the various parties that are contending against the singular interpretation that is right.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Wisdom Enang, oil and gas expert, for speaking to us on this issue. And we're hoping that there'll be some cheery news before long on this particular matter.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you very much. You enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week.
All right.